Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here another movie review, this time for Miller's Girl, starring Jenna Ortega. This film was actually made, I believe, maybe a year or two ago, and it's just now getting released this year. There was some controversy online about this film, the whole thing where people were talking about, you can't make a movie where a woman fakes that she was, sexually assaulted, that can't be done, or whatever, or that's been done so much because it would send a bad signal that, all women, fake sexual assaults, which is not true. Which, yes, in real life that isn't true, and the majority of sexual assaults are actually real. But that whole idea of that this movie would make people think that sexual assault cases or whatever from women aren't true is just really stupid. Because there's no way this film is going to do that. There's the majority of movies that come out about sexual assaults about women, they all show you that yes, it's true, the woman was sexually assaulted. Making a movie every now and then about a false accusation is not going to change that tide. As far as this film goes, I'll just go ahead and say it, from 1 to 4 stars, it sucked. This film sucked. The best performance in the movie is Jenna Ortega. She does a great job acting-wise in this film in terms of her actual acting. The dude in the movie who plays the teacher or whatever that she's crushing on, he does a good, solid job as well. I recognize him. He's been in a lot of stuff. But overall, in terms of this film, it's a half a star out of 4. It's just a suck film. It just sucks. The biggest problem with this film is it kind of sets it up to where you think it's going to be like a thriller, but then it doesn't really want to be a thriller, and it's really just more like a social commentary on men and women and teacher and student relationships. It's just not really that interesting of a social commentary, to be honest. Pretty much you got Jenna Ortega's character, who's like this chick that just turned 18 out of school or whatever, and her friend is like this chick who's supposed to be bisexual. Online, I read some reviews where they called her a lesbian, but she's really not a lesbian, because she talks about how she wants to fuck her male teacher or whatever in the movie, as well, her male gym coach or something, this fat black dude. But yeah, she's clearly not a lesbian, because even in the movie she makes a comment saying, I'm an equal opportunist, basically saying I'll fuck either one. Pretty much what it reads like. But yeah, so she's friends with her, and then Jenna Ortega's talking to her I need to find Jenna Ortega's pretty much I need to find, something to do in this world, something to do, or whatever. And she's like, well, why don't you have an affair with a teacher, is what her bisexual friend tells her. And so she picks out the dude who's this nice guy in the movie or whatever. And he's the English, the writing teacher, pretty much. And she pretty much sets up a goal to try to screw him. And if you hear frogs or anything in the background, I'm sorry. It's pretty noisy outside when I do these reviews. But yeah, she she sets it up to where she wants to basically fuck this dude who's her writing teacher, and she flatters him by reading his book and everything, showing that she's read it. His wife in the movie, I heard she was a bitch online in some of the reviews. Some people said seeing her in the movie, for the most of the movie, she's not really a bitch. She is an alcoholic at this show in the movie, but she's not really a bitch. She is a little bit jackassy, because she basically puts him down at one point when they're just kind of sitting around with their friends in a bar or whatever. Or a restaurant. She puts him down a little bit about his writing, saying, well, you're a teacher, you're not a writer, because he always wanted to be a writer, and he teaches, and he doesn't write books or anything, even though he wrote one book. And so she puts him down because of that, emasculates him, basically, which is kind of jackassy. But at the same time, he never goes to his wife and tells her how he feels. He never tries to talk to her about it or anything. So at the same time, he's at fault there too, because he never talks to his wife about the issue, about how he feels. He starts hanging out with Jenna Ortega. Is he doesn't really hang out with her necessarily. I mean, he goes and meets her one time at a poetry reading where he sits next to her. You can tell he's starting to get a little infatuated with her, to the point where he has a little bit of crush on her or whatever, and likes the fact that she's boosting his ego and all that because she read his book and everything. You can kind of see where it's coming from, but he never actually tries to do her. He never tries to screw her. So yeah, that's there. He never actually tries to make a move on her whatsoever. There's a partway through the movie or whatever where she's writing a story, and he's write what you know, and she basically writes a fictionalized version or whatever about how she wants to screw him, and that's when he freaks out, and he's like, no, you can't print this or whatever, basically because, it may come back and people might think he's been banging her or whatever, which he hasn't. But there is a scene where after he reads the story for the first time, he imagines him and her sleeping together, and he goes and jacks off, and after that's when he realizes that, yeah, this has gone too far. She's become too infatuated with him, so then that's when he tries to break it off, and he tells her that he cannot print this. And then this is the scene where Jenna Ortega does a great job acting-wise, or a good job, but she turns into almost a super villain, where she's like, you won't fail me because I'll make everybody basically think that you fucked me or tried to fuck me, and I'll get you back. and she turns in like a supervillain. It's really weird because through most of the movie, and at the beginning of the movie when she's talking to like her bisexual friend or whatever, and Jenna Ortega's like, or her bisexual friend's like, you should have an affair with a teacher or whatever, or do a teacher, and when she's talking about that, the way the movie plays it is, it plays it to where Jenna Ortega's character is written to where she's just a kid, like still mentally a kid, and she's basically like, okay, I'll do this, she just doesn't know any better. That's the way the movie plays it. But then when he gets to the end of the movie, all at once she just becomes like a supervillain. And it's like at the end of the movie, and she's like trying to ruin this guy's career or whatever. And you can tell that part of her maybe still feels a little bad about what she's doing, but at the same time, she's like a supervillain, and she's acting like a supervillain, like randomly out of the blue, because it really makes no sense in context with the way her character was portrayed to the first half of the movie, where she was just treated as like basically a dumb kid. And then it gets to the end of the movie, and she's talking to like her bisexual friend or whatever, who's like, you can't do this. You're going to testify against him, whatever, just because he wouldn't fuck you? And she's like, and Jenna Ortega's like, no, he wanted to fuck me, but he wouldn't, so I underestimated him. It's basically like, because of the fact that Jenna Ortega tried to get this guy to screw her, and he ended up not doing it and tried to cut it off and do the right thing, that she's basically trying to get revenge on him. She's like, she sees this as all like a giant game or whatever of cat and mouse, basically is what it is. Like her character is transformed into like something like the talented Mr. Ripley at the end of the movie in the third act, just randomly out of the blue for no reason. And now she wants to basically get revenge on this guy, and just is still treating it like a cat and mouse game of them trying to one-up each other. And then basically the movie ends with the dude or whatever like being called into the office, and they're talking about like, did you do anything inappropriate with her? Did you see her off school grounds? And he's like, well, is that a poetry reading or whatever? That's about it. And that pretty much was it. Like, he didn't really do anything, like, out of the way. Yes, he as her teacher, he shouldn't have seen her at, like, a poetry reading or whatever. I've been, like, reading with her and, like, sharing a cigarette with her. He shouldn't have been doing that stuff that is inappropriate. But at the same time, he did some inappropriate stuff, but he didn't, like, try to fuck the chick or anything. He never tried to do that to Jenna Ortega. So, he probably deserved to be reprimanded a little, but he doesn't deserve to lose his job or anything. And so you get to the end of the movie, and basically he's like, he's going to end up having to go to court and do battle with Jenna Ortega, and that's basically just where the movie ends. It just ends, just like that. That's just it. And like, there's one part in the movie at the end where like the bisexual chick or whatever his friends with Jenna Ortega's talking like, if you do this, I'll rat on you and tell him that, he never slept with you or anything, and that you were manipulating everything. She's like, well, if you do that, I'm going to rat on you and tell everybody about how you wanted to do your gym coach and how you were being inappropriate with him, even though he also didn't fuck you. And so she's like, even now at the end of the movie, she's even like trying to like blackmail her own friend or whatever. So she's turned into like a supervillain. Like, I'm waiting for her to like hold her hands in the air and scream and go, ha ha ha, he wouldn't fuck me, I will destroy him. It's just so weird. It doesn't really make any sense context with the character from the rest of the movie. And then it gets to the end of the movie, and the dude is like arguing with his wife, and his wife's like an alcoholic, and he's arguing with her, the teacher is, and she's like, well, did you fuck her? And he's like, no, I didn't. And did you want to fuck her, or were you attracted to her? And he's like, he's not admitting it, but you know that he was attracted to her. And so she's just flying off because, the fact that he was attracted to her or whatever. So she's just like believes that he might have screwed her, even though he clearly didn't. So she's just like tripping out, his wife is, and his wife's just acting like a complete bitch, just totally telling him what a piece of shit he is, even though he really has not done anything. He's been somewhat slightly inappropriate, but he didn't have sex with the girl. He cut it off before it became anything. So really, his wife shouldn't be going as hard on him as she is at the end, talking about how you bear some responsibility, and he bears some responsibility for being slightly inappropriate. But at the same time, he didn't go too far to the point where he should be like ridiculed or talked about like he's a piece of shit. Especially since he did the right thing and didn't let it go any further. So his wife's being a total asshole. And you get the idea that maybe they'll divorce, but they never show if they do or not. The movie just ends. There's no really outcome of anything. So really, you got a movie here that kind of starts off to where it's going to be like, kind of sets up to where it might be like a thriller or whatever, this chick trying to bang this dude or maybe coming after him, but they don't play it like that. They play it just like she's a dumb teenager basically still, or a dumb kid, even though she's 18, which obviously is still extremely young, basically a kid still. And she is really, the movie has like no villain, because both of them are just two people who are just in a relation, or just being slightly inappropriate with each other, or somewhat inappropriate with each other, but neither one of them completely crossed the line. So really, the movie just comes out with basically there's no villain at the end, so you're just watching kind of a dull movie where there's not a lot going on. So overall, it's just like, there's just nothing here. If this had been like some movie, like a Lifetime cheesy movie where this bitch, which is Jenna Ortega's character, which is like a crazy bitch and trying to like go after this dude because he wouldn't bang her or something, that actually would have been more interesting in a silly way. But instead, the movie, it wants to play it to where the characters are like all in the gray, to where it's more of like an examination of like an inappropriate relation of people just being slightly inappropriate with each other, to where no one's truly a villain here. Interesting idea. It doesn't result in a very interesting movie, since there's not really any bad guy at all. Overall, it's a half a star. The movie's just pretty uneventful and just really forgettable to watch. And I will never watch this again. And Jenna Ortega's like character turn at the end where she becomes like a supervillain, it's completely out of the blue. It makes no sense in context with the rest of the movie. Overall, half a star out of 4. Completely forgettable film, and it's a complete waste of time to watch this. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.